The Lost Signals present
I see the gruel is ready.
a celebration of international horror and another Halloween sequel
Michael Myers is outside.
with in-depth analysis,
تو پسر خوب هستی.
adult content,
Girlfriend Lucas.
adult language,
Oh my god.
and spoilers.
Сталкеру нельзя входить в комнату.
Join us.
Aren't I lucky I got a chunky bit?
Good evening and welcome back to MOTS-O-Ween. As we span the globe this October, it's October as you can tell, and my name is Chris Morgan and I'm here with Scott Thurlow.
Remember me.
And Jonathan Ian Manzer.
Our podcast is for peace. Our ambiance is unique.
And Stephen Hermosi.
And I want you to remember that you listeners have a beautiful face.
Indeed. And today we are doing the a film from India from 2002. It's called Raaz. And Ian, do you have a log line for us?
Sanja versus the Evil Dead.
Yep, pretty much says it all.
That's
At least for the last
For the
quarter.
most part.
the parts that are important. Yes. And Scott, would you like to give us the plot?
Sure, I'll certainly try to be more concise than the film was a bit about it.
And feel free not to sing.
So it's centers on a young married couple, Sanjana and Adi, and India. They're sort of like upper class-ish, but their marriage is on a downslide. Sanjana's unhappy, he's been taking sleeping pills. So she gets into a car accident, which we found out is related to some kind of spirit possessing another woman in the woods. And quickly enough, we get exposition from a Professor Loomis type character, in which it's clearly established that evil spirits are real, exist, and can come back from beyond the grave and cause haunting and tragedies to befall people. So after Sanjana recovers, he decides to put a band-aid on their marriage. They go back to a cabin in the woods, if you will, near the woods of the original setup. And quickly enough, weird things start to happen. She hears voices and so forth. She clearly believes that the house is possessed and is pretty much the Aussie audience. We know she's right. And is disbelieved by her husband and other characters. So through a series of events and also some singing and dancing here and there, you come to realize that what happened is her husband Adi had an affair previously, and the woman there, what was her name? Malini, I believe.
Malini, yeah.
She was a little out of sorts and committed suicide in the woods and has come back as a vengeful, jilted lover to destroy his marriage or at least get him for herself or kill him if she cannot do that. And Sanjana, with the help of Professor Loomis, pretty much uses supernatural means to fight her and eventually exorcise the ghost demon, etc. And they end up somewhat happily ever after, Sanjana and Adi, that is, after having gone through being dragged through the mud, if you will, to fight this ghost. And that's pretty much it.
This movie is a remake of What Lies Beneath.
I was going to say that, I was going to leave it for you, for sure.
3/4 of this film, and then they say, fuck it, we're going full Evil
Well,
Dead.
dead time. Yeah.
Meaning that it's maybe, The What Lies Beneath is an okay movie, and this is subpar okay for most of it, and then amazing for the end of it.
Ian really loved the ending of his film. It was certainly a highlight of it compared to the rest.
Yeah. I'll leave the thematic elements for later, but the, I guess, plot elements of this is there is a hard left
story
turn
itself, yes.
as you go into this deep, memory field, as I'm going to call it, of the entire actual story that has happened is told by the main character over the course of about 40 minutes, and it's really strange. I found this whole movie fairly enjoyable to watch, despite the fact that I disagree with a lot of the character traits and motivations, I guess.
Sure.
But it is there's something about it that's like pretty eminently watchable, and I think that plays a lot into the fact that it's a fairly standard plot for a lot of it, and then it goes like wildly over the top horror,
Campiness, sort of.
Yeah, campy.
It's campy the entire time.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
It truly, You're right. It truly embraces that though at the end. Like it like puts the gear into fifth, if you will.
It stops trying to be a serious film.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's really funny because when I was researching this, I found a bunch of films that were not available, that were hard to find. And I found this because it was like really one of the top rated ones. When I saw the trailer, it reminded me so much right off the bat of our Dario Argento's film Opera. Because parts of that takes place in Switzerland, and I found out reading the credits that some of the more scenic things take place in Switzerland, which is funny. Yes.
No wonder they couldn't afford a good camera.
Not just Uti.
For some shots.
Yeah. But I guess I'll go into a little more detailed style, but to me, it does remind me a lot of, if Argento did make a Bollywood film with tons of exposition, and then except for the gore, and then at the last half of the film, it does become Evil Dead. It reminded me so much of like Fulci without the gore, except like things like the mental institution where they can do brain surgery, and every time they go in the hallway, there's more people there waiting, and on the back it says, what does it say, like the Hospital of Neurology,
Department of Neurology, Neurosurgery.
Neurosurgery. It's like remind me of the do not entry sign in like the Fulci films. It's like, hi, we want you to know this is a hospital, we want you to know this is a morgue. We'll put the signs right out there.
See, that's funny that you mentioned those. You reminded me of those directors, because it reminded me of a Lifetime original film that was filming a Bollywood
horror movie at the same time somehow, or like they switched directors. In fact,
yeah.
But I do have a point to make.
But then Sam Raimi takes over at down to 2/3 mark.
Solves it. There is a point in this though where the spirit fakes being the main character, and they take a drive. And I think they spend a good amount of budget throwing a car off.
Yes, I have it in my notes. The car crash was amazing.
This car in a way that there would be no survivors.
Not a chance.
Any way whatsoever. And yet he comes out with a mild scratch.
The guy has a couple scratches and a broken bone.
He's
or something like that.
He only fell 50 feet. It's like,
Ending car crash is ridiculous! Exclamation. That's what I have.
And I love the reveal that it's not his wife, because it's obviously like they green screened her face and did a composite on there, but you can like see like the moving.
Well, she won't look at him the whole scene. So you're like, it's obviously the ghost.
Yeah, but like if you look at it, you can like actually see like the green screen they were doing in the back for like the moving of the car. So like in her cheek, you could see. I didn't understand what they're going for, but it looked.
I feel like we're going a little into style here.
Well, given all that, I'm looking at a 2 for plot, because it's like, again, it's based on the thing. Like even like if you haven't seen What Lies Beneath, it's clearly based on that. But like it's a classic-ish ghost story, pretty much. I would say you could have seen this in any. It doesn't have to be specific to the region. So like, given that, like you said, Steve-O, it was enjoyable to watch. I'm not sure if it'll stick with me. Spoiler, probably not. But like for the most part, I'm going to take a point off because, it's a little long. It's a little bloated, I'll say, for what it tries to be.
Is it?
Yes.
This movie did not need to be in 2 hours and 32 minutes.
It could be 2 hours, and like I'd be fine with that even. But all I'm saying is, like,
without the song and dance, it'd probably be an hour. I mean,
there are like less songs than I thought there would be, but there are certainly a number of them that went on a bit, for sure. Don't get me wrong. But just overall, like the action and like, again, like the storytelling of it, I think I'll give like an okay 2.
I did not enjoy this film. And I think that thematically, I disagree with what it's trying to say, if we're going to go into. Narratively, the conclusion of the characters make no sense, I suppose. Like,
I also pretty much agree with that, yeah.
Themes. I really love the ending for how absurd it is, but it makes no narrative sense either. And if you're going with the source material, actually, the source material does have that full emotional conclusion and narrative conclusion.
Yeah, I suppose you're right on
which
that.
I think this lacks. So I'm going to give it a 1.
I'll say I think this has a narrative conclusion. Whether it's really well done or not is a different story, but I think it has a narrative conclusion. I don't think it has a coherent emotional conclusion.
That's a good point.
I was thinking about doing a 2, but I might give it a 1. Chris, what do you think?
I was going to say, I was going to give it a 2. So if you want to give it a 1, that would kind of give us each 1.5.
I might be convinced to a 1
seems
though,
about
based on
right.
you guys' points though. Like, yeah, it's tough because like it's not like weak, but it also certainly by no means is a strong narrative either.
But
So
see,
go ahead.
it doesn't have a strong narrative, but I have to say,
The point you guys made at the end.
really did enjoy the music, especially like when he was
That has
playing,
nothing to do with the
especially when he was
story.
That's all
playing
style.
guitar. I mean, I know.
Okay, but
or
like-
when he wasn't playing guitar, but no, I mean, it really,
The guitar one.
it
I
would
will
be
say
one of those,
there are a couple points where the music plays into the narrative.
yeah.
So
Sometimes.
it's not like it's
It's
completely
not always out of nowhere, but
I'm
I
not
get it.
punishing
But
it for the musical scenes.
Yeah.
I'm punishing it with the fact that the male lead, the damsel in distress in a way, cheats on his wife, causes a woman to commit suicide, and yeah, I guess he gets harmed in a car crash, vaguely.
but he's mostly a karma Houdini. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
And this is actually fairly strong female character who wants to leave her husband, is browbeated by people
That's
around
true.
her into staying with him. Now that's part of thematic, but I think that the art, like
It crosses over
in
it, too.
What Lies Beneath, actually deals with the repercussions of trying to hide what the terrible secrets of your past.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
and
fair,
how
dude.
these
That is
rise
true.
to the surface. And here it's
It's not dealt with.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Yeah, like
no, that's a good point because yeah, you're right. Because that's one issue I did have, and I guess I'll discuss it when we get to protagonist. Was that that Sanjana would be really really strong, and then she'd be
they sort of like undercut that.
yeah.
it's not a problem to have her struggling with her strength and coming up with it at the end and leaving this scumbag behind who, when we're introduced to him, is ignoring her for business deals.
Yeah.
And it leads to her almost death if it wasn't for supernatural
Forces at work. Sure.
There's no emotional closure to this in
Yeah.
any way.
Yeah, that's a very fair
makes
point.
sense.
I'm glad you guys mentioned that. So it might have, like, as you guys were speaking, it might have convinced me that I wasn't dead set. I was like, basically, like, give it 2 is fine, slap it on it, call it a day. But I think you're making some pretty good points. So I'm leaning more towards a 1.
Oh yeah, I'm totally
I'll let
giving it
you
a
go.
1 because
Last word.
no, because it works in the whole thing because you have her with the struggle where like she'd be really strong and then she'd freak out, whatever, but she'd always want to face it, and then the ending undercuts all that.
Oh, certainly.
No.
When you
That's
said
fair.
that's the point I was getting at. I wasn't trying to.
No, I understand.
Yeah, I think 1's all around.
I think I am going to settle on a 1 at this point, yeah.
And I just want to say, if this movie's taught me anything, it's cars cannot kill people.
Cars don't kill, only ghosts do, buddy. God.
Cars don't kill people. Neither do 50 footballs.
Only ghosts. As I said.
In India, they do really create well-structured cars.
Apparently.
And with that, it comes to me with themes. And the theme for this is no extramarital affair or death goes unrewarded. I would be hard pressed to find a theme that wasn't
Really
the
shitty.
only theme I could find in here is absolutely important because the thing is, like, even the doctor who is there trying to help her and like convince the Professor
Loomis.
Professor Loomis. But no, the whole time he's trying to, help her with the supernatural and get everybody to believe her. And her and Priya go and say, Priya's like,
Her best
Sanjana and Priya are like, she's going to leave and I'm going to help her. And he's like, no, you have to go and save your husband. He's in danger. I'm like, what? Like,
the only way to kill the
he
ghost.
did like a 180. Like, there is nothing, like, if there was a theme, it was changing to suit whatever the director felt like filming next.
No, because they reinforce twice the importance of the wife sticking by
Stand
the
by your
husband,
man.
It is her duty.
regardless
They said
of
something like that, yeah.
But there is a classic theme in this of the Van Helsing character talking about how science doesn't answer
You'll never accept it.
everything,
Yeah.
and that there are spiritual forces out there that we aren't capable, modern science isn't capable of dealing with. I've always liked that theme. even though I'm a scientific person in general, I always love that thing that like what lies on the fringes of science.
What lies
Although
beneath?
this doesn't really deal with it the way that the classic like
It doesn't delve
Dracula
into it.
or
Yeah.
Frankenstein.
Right. And who's to say, and it's also kind of like that thing where it's just like, it's supernatural until we could figure out a reason for it.
So
And
it's natural.
sometimes there'll never be a reason. We can never figure that reason out, but that doesn't, my whole point is you want that having the supernatural and having the science, the noble nature are not mutually exclusive. I mean, they're part of a one and the same. I just don't think this film really knew which side to come on.
Well, it's interesting because it's almost Van Helsing meets the woman from Poltergeist, the old woman who's the clairvoyant.
The medium.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's that kind of weird thing that he's dead set on it being a supernatural. That he's not really a scientist going into it.
Your science can't help.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Your science can't save her.
what is your science now, Professor? But no, like, that's certainly there. Like, but it's more like, to me, that aspect at least is more of a framework than like a theme per se. Like, it's only like superficially a theme. Yeah, like they have to like, well, you have to accept the events of the plot because supernatural things in this universe, in this story, are in fact real. However, yes, more serious, the message is completely like, to me, backwards. Like, that's what it says at the end. That like, yeah, you should stick by your wife or stick by your husband as a dutiful wife, and that way everything will be fine and you'll save him. Like, okay, but like she was just betrayed an abusive, not an abusive per se, but like her husband cheated on her and covered
emotionally
it up.
abusive.
And
Yeah,
she
was
had experienced
ignored.
emotional neglect.
Yes. So like, but they're saying like, oh, if you stick by your husband, it'll be fine in the end. And also, again, your exercises the supernatural element. So certainly, I don't think that is a good message, and it didn't like sit well. So I was looking at a zero going into this anyway.
5 years from now, he's cheating on her again, right?
Right.
Certainly.
Well,
100%.
my hope.
That's
my
what the
hope-
sequel
5
is
years.
about. Of course.
They were only married for 2 years.
Yeah.
I was really hoping, like at the end, when she took his crutches and had her walk to him, like when he finally got to her, she would just like push him over the ledge.
Or I was hoping she
never
would
gonna
throw his
happen.
crutch over the edge and just walk away.
Neither of those are going to happen, but it
Would
would
have
have
been amazing.
I know, but
All right, I'm gonna give it a 0 too.
Zero for theme.
I just have one last point
Good.
to make about Sunrise. I'll forgive temporal lack of modern morality because I understand at that point in time issues different, especially with how they sort of characterize this woman as a strong woman that you should leave. I won't forgive
Yeah,
spatial.
it felt like a cop out there at the
Yeah.
end, for sure, like a big one.
So I'm giving it a 0.
yeah, I kind of figured that. Good.
Not making it 1.
All right, one. All right. And Steve-O, it's to you with antagonist.
Okay, so I guess it's Malini, right?
Evil ghost girl.
His evil ghost temptress woman who
Mistress.
Yeah, seemed. I mean, whatever. I'm not going to make any judgments upon this lady. Or not that I'm not going to make any judgments, but like, obviously, she's just created or like just filled in this role as a literal crazy woman who is only there to get the guy
To be a malevolent
to
force,
yeah
living or dead.
to get the guy to cheat on his wife and then to make that the point of this story. The whole, like, I really wish that the story was better done because I think this is one of like the bigger horror movies from India, probably for good reason because it's a really fascinatingly done stylistically movie, but like going into like the antagonist, it's like this person has no. She seems like from the get-go, she seems like a really interesting woman, and then all of the interesting parts of her are just taken away, and she just becomes the crazy person.
Well, parts of this movie reminded me. There was an old movie called Ghost Story. I think it was based on a Peter Straub book. And a lot of it, like when she was by the fire and she was going, putting the gun to her head, or point the gun to the fire, like he loves me, or like he loves me not, pointing it to her head. That stuff like that was very haunting. It reminded me of that kind of classic. I don't want to say femme fatale, but maybe.
Yeah,
I mean, she certainly had overtones of that.
But
that trope, yes.
Yeah, but basically what I'm trying to say is like by the end of the movie they take away all the things that made her like she comes
She's
in
just
she's
stripped
like
away to like
I like to travel. I like I like to like I'm a vagabond basically.
she was in and out of homes they mentioned.
Yeah,
her father
she's
mentioned
like
as well.
she seems like really intriguing, and then by the end of it, it's like she's like the only thing she cares about is him, and it's like, no, you came in as a really interesting character. I wish you would have continued that.
They took away her agency as a villain by
Yes.
making her crazy versus like and
Having
they're
more
making
robust-
also forgiving Addie more because no, there was no other alternative. To
Yeah.
her
But even
doing
she's
something nuts.
she's like admits that she's had mental health problems.
It's
But that's
okay
the
if
thing.
she's
No, but
crazy,
she-
has mental health problems. It's not okay that she completely fixates on only him,
But didn't she?
and by the end, whereas she has like all this like interesting things going on with her
She
personality.
does have traits
when
before
she
that
shows
you're
up.
saying.
But
yeah.
didn't she even say at one point, and I'm paraphrasing, that you fuck around with me? He's like, basically, she's like, how dare you do this to me? I have mental health problems or something. In other words, it seemed to be like part of losing her agency was the fact that not having mental health problems, but all of a sudden she became a victim. Like, how could you do this to me because I have
Yeah.
They did strip her, systematically strip her of
But like
agency.
if you look at like Glenn Close from Fatal Attraction or something like that, which you have a woman who's crazy, but it's slowly built up and it feels like it's. I'm actually weirdly I think that Addie should be more at fault for the
Yeah, for sure.
for her actions versus what I feel that the movie portrayed.
Yeah.
They did her whole turn.
That's a good point.
They did her whole turn in a musical number,
Yes.
Yeah.
which is
Sure.
Yeah, that's
Which
true.
is par for the course. But yeah, you're right. Like she introduced as an interesting character at the outset, and then like slowly and even swiftly enough, like weirdly, like as it accelerates, she becomes one-dimensional.
yeah.
Like just like again, like the Evil Dead. Like I'm gonna eat your soul. Like okay, but that's not. Now you're
Okay,
just
but why?
now you're just a monster for no
Yeah.
reason.
I don't know.
Sure.
I don't
Like
know if-
regardless of any other like traits or character, characteristics. So yeah, like I was gonna sort of give it a default 1 coming into it, but I think you guys, as we talked about, convinced me that it's not enough there, and it's sort of like not distastefully handled, I guess, but just
Kind of distasteful.
a little bit, right? But just like
It's not.
ungracefully handled.
It's not complex enough
No.
to warrant a 1.
No.
Did you guys ever see the Takashi Miike movie Audition?
No.
I've heard of it.
Okay. All right, I won't spoil it. I'm just saying that would have been a much better archetype.
Okay.
Well, I don't want to get into it.
Cool. We're gonna.
So everybody who's seen that's listening,
Yeah.
You know.
So is it going to be zeros all around?
That's 0 for me for sure.
0,
I think so.
Okay.
0, 0, 0.
Strip away your agency and you're going to get a 0. Okay. And Ian, that's to you with the protagonist.
Oh, speaking of stripping away your agency, I think we already talked about this a little bit, but Sanjana, I like her as an actress. I sympathize with her plight. I think she's going through both a traumatic experience with her husband and a ghost of her husband.
Both in the normal and in the paranormal
Yes.
sense.
Yes.
Except that that her choices
at the end, yeah.
end kind of break it for me. And granted, I'm rooting for her the entire time.
Yep.
But I don't want to see. And I don't want to see her go back to this guy. But nor do I think that her going back to this guy was like an earned like negative ending.
So, like, I see what you mean for sure, and I guess I'm heavily leaning to wanting to give her 1 because, yeah, I think she was well portrayed. I think the actress was really good throughout. So, I think here's my argument that whatever points we just took away from themes for sure. So, her choice at the end, as you said, definitely feeds into that. It was sort of a cop out. Now, less of 1 than you guys are probably going to say, but definitely agree it's a cop out to some degree, no matter what. But like 90% of the time leading up to that, I liked her. I thought she made pretty good decisions. I thought she was strong. She had agency. She had help, and she decided to do she was given options, at least some range of options given the situation at hand. So I think I quite enjoyed her. I thought she was a very good character. Her arc maybe just didn't fulfill or wasn't satisfying as you said, but she at least had an arc even if you don't think it was handled well at the end.
Until it did the U-turn.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I know,
but
and you're right. That's what's tripping me up here. Like, that's what
She went in with a sledgehammer and knocked down all the bridge she built.
But she had a redemption arc, and the redemption was not hers. He should have had if anybody was going to have a redemption arc, it should have been him. But her emotional arc became.
Yeah, I don't know,
She
man.
had to get redemption for him while he lay dying, essentially.
She was punished for his sins and then forgave him, but not in a way that was true.
That
to
was
her
satisfactory.
character.
Like, yeah, it's harsh because I'm tossing you in a sec, Steve-O, but here's my summation. Like, as I said, I think she was strong throughout, except that is the one like kink in the arc, if you will. But the points that I think are negative, I feel like have taken away from other questions already. So
Yeah, I mean it's a very frustrating character in this film because you're right. Like I was rooting for her most of the movie, and like I did like her. I thought she was the most likable character for most of the movie. And then the end is like, I was really hoping that she would just like leave him after everything. Like she saves him and then she fucking leaves.
sure, it would have been
Like
more
that would have been
satisfying.
way better. And the end of it really makes me. I think I'm going to give it a 0 just because it like you just said, Ian. Like she built up this whole structure that her character embodied, and then she knocked it all down at the end by doing something that she shouldn't have done. And then the narrative, the narration right at the end is the absolute worst. It's like everyone knows you have to stand by your husband and like all that. I'm like, Jesus Christ, come on! Like this is
I
fucking
agree with
ridiculous.
That dialogue.
Like clearly this guy doesn't deserve you.
Yeah, and the thing that...
And like, but it is an interesting, like a lot of, you hear a lot of stories about people staying in relationships like this, but like making that a happy ending is not.
Yeah, well, that's
what
why
this
themes are
should've-
very bad.
It's not what
as you
this
said.
should have been.
But also, I don't see the logic on her position of going back because she had already decided I'm leaving, and it seems like she was almost browbeaten by culture to do this.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's my main. issue.
Yeah,
It's not-
I agree. I think I'm gonna give it a 0. Like for most of this movie, it would have been a 1. The very end, it really, really fucks it up.
I mean, if she had left with Priya and we're like, fucking sucks to be him. Later, we're going to go yeah, I agree with you. I as much as I was rooting for her, they did not conclude her character well.
Oh man, I mean, I do agree with that, but I want to give credit here, so I think I might give it a soft 1.
Give it a 1
just because of that. But like, yeah, I mean, I certainly agree with your points, but it's like I said, 90% pretty solid, and then at the end, like it goes down a bit. But I think for me personally, I'm gonna give her pretty solid credit.
Ian?
Oh, 0.
All right, so 3 zeros and a 1.
3 zeros and a 1. And Scott,
What do you see your points? Yes.
it is back to you with supporting characters.
Professor Loomis, of course. I'm sorry I keep referring to this character like I'm just unfamiliar. Like, but that's like as I was taking notes during the viewing, I'm like, he is Loomis. Like, it's obvious. Like, at least to me, like the first one I thought of, and I liked him. Like, he sets up very early. I'm like, hey, spirits are real. He comes in, like you said, he bursts into the doctor's like, you'll never believe me, but this is what's happening, right? And then he says it to the cops too, even.
Michael Myers is pure
Yeah.
evil.
Yeah. Yes, right. So like, and he comes back. He does provide helpful and pertinent information and details to fight against the the unnatural, the spirit, and also like Priya I thought was pretty solid too.
Priya
Sanjana's
was-
friend.
yeah.
I thought she was a good supportive friend.
she was the one consistent, strong.
Aside
Yeah.
from her last speech.
Yeah. So like, yes, I know that'll go to dialogue for sure. So talk about that. But I'm saying like as the characters and I guess her husband, of course, Adi would be secondary here. It's weird because like you think he's like gonna be the main character, like somewhat central to the plot, or at least they're gonna be like together. But then he sort of shipped on a business meeting for a bit because, as Ian said, like
Shipped on a business.
yeah, they need to have that too. They need to have time for Sanjana to like be alone and like start like confronting things and right. So like, that all fine. So like, yeah, I liked the diverse. Even the doctor was pretty good. Like when he showed up, and at the end he got a standing ovation for saving Adi, I suppose, right? And
That was
you have,
brilliant.
You have Robert, his servant, who like he sort of confided in or helped him get rid of the body after Milana killed herself.
in a very,
like-
very, very shallow grave.
Yeah, in the woods,
Yeah.
man. I mean, he thought it was fine, but no,
3 foot grave.
it's fine. I enjoyed them like throughout. Like like I said, Professor Guy was standout, like to me amongst the secondary. But I think they all like fleshed out again this little like world in which they're fighting the ghosts and even their relationships to each other and so forth. So for me, I'm looking at a pretty decent, solid 1 so far. So go ahead.
I'm not going to ruin it, but Professor Eyebrows, who you call Professor Loomis, has the most B-movie epic death of all time.
He does.
And he is the one saving grace of this film. The actor knew exactly what he had to do for this role. He at times was overly serious and at times chewing scenery, and it's that levity.
You're getting chewed by scenery.
Are you
I loved watching every season.
When he's stamping the books, he's chewing the scene. Like he's like, I'm ignoring you. I'm ignoring you. I'm ignoring. Like when Priya's trying to talk to him, it was just like the best nonverbal. Like
yeah, you're right. He was over the top and all the ways he needed to be. So.
I will completely agree. As a kid's, well, pretty much everything in this movie. There's so many things, as the kids say, are so extra, and especially. Who was his name? Swaroop.
Is that what the kids
I believe is his.
I believe his actual character's name is Professor Swaroop. Yes.
He is so over the top. It's fucking. He is the quietest character in the room or the loudest character in the room.
There's no in between.
No in between. There's zero.
He's got one speed go.
And I would give this a 1 just for him. And I liked Priya, who was pretty decent throughout the movie. Yeah, and exactly. I will say the chateau itself was almost like a secondary character.
Kind of.
It had a lot of.
It's a bungalow. You said cabin, you say chateau.
I thought it was a cottage.
They definitely said bungalow in the film, but I was going for the cabin in the woods reference. Yeah. So anyway,
I'm going to give it a 1.
Go for bungalow.
I had a cool sense of place. Yes,
I do have to say one thing. Addie's dad, Beth thought looked like Christopher Walken. But the funny thing is, being Chris, I always get Indian restaurants always call me Krish, which is funny because other ones call me Christ on the thing. So I have this Masonic thing if I take out.
Certainly do.
I give your Messianic complex a 0.
Yeah, but so Beth was calling him Krish Walken. So anyway, yes, that's a bit of a
cool story, bro.
That's a bit of esoteric humor, but it was. I just had to share it.
So 1 or 0?
This is a 1, definitely. Are you kidding?
1's all around?
Yeah.
All right.
Best thing about this film.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess it's to me with dialogue.
Yeah, good luck.
Good luck. Exactly.
Okay, do you want to move on to style? No. No, the dialogue was awesome in a very everything that either Priya or Dr. Loomis said was amazing. It wasn't amazing dialogue; it was amazing delivery.
Yeah, so that's
but the thing exactly is, it's just the dialogue in this film. It was not good.
Your moon-like face is amazing. So, I'm going to agree with you. I don't have much to say.
But, unless you count the lyrics of the songs, in which case...
Well, we can discuss
They're terrible as well.
Yeah.
It's tough to
it might have been a translation, right? But still...
I think it was a pretty poor translation.
I think so, too.
Well, yeah, for all that, again, it was mostly serviceable, right? At best, even. And yes, the delivery certainly, but that's not really dialogue. That's them using the best of the lines that they have as actors. So yeah, the song lyrics are fucking ridiculous for sure. As much as I enjoy those interludes, that's probably mostly style as well. So I think for what was the words that were on the screen as it was happening, I don't know, man. Good.
Lifetime original movie, translated to Spanish, translated back to English.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Why Spanish?
I feel like this is a decent American horror movie dialogue translated into a different language and then translated back into English. That's how I felt about it.
We saw this on Prime, so what did they do? Alexi, translate movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who's Alexi?
Who's Alexi? Is that a Russian Alexis?
Oh, there you go. Alexis, whatever the hell her name is.
The male version that they're making.
Alexis or Alexa?
Alexa.
Alexa.
But, so, yeah, this might be being punished for the Amazon
because
translation
of
it,
yeah,
but it was pretty bad.
Yeah. And
agreed.
But,
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so okay, that's 0s all around. And Steve-O, it's to you with style.
I'm honestly not sure what you guys are going to say about this, but I quite enjoyed the style of this.
I back it up.
It's interesting. I haven't seen all that many Bollywood movies. In fact, I've probably seen 1 or 2 ever. And to have a movie punctuated with song and dance is very strange. Out of nowhere, not in a musical type sense. It's not they're not really musicals. They're just this fucking dance number
Interlude
happens
time, yeah.
sometimes. And I kind of enjoyed it. Like, it was fun. And also the very camp horror elements I really liked a lot. And I thought that the town was fairly atmospheric as well. Like the town of Oot or whatever, Ooty.
But the bungalow, the one random road, dirt road in the forest that happens to have one random
and the forest
power line in it.
Wait, and don't forget about the one street.
The one street and the one mental health institute that's also a hospital.
And the mental health institute.
That's the only one in town
where they do neurological.
But yeah, like that. It did bring across the like horror film
aesthetic
fairly well, I thought.
It brought around the MST3K aesthetic very well.
It was more like if a soap opera was also a horror soap opera. That's kind of what it felt like, but like in an enjoyable way for me. I liked it.
I'll say this. I think a lot of the shots were like, in the same way that the narrative uses a lot of the tropes you see in horror, like. It was fine. Like I thought some of them were cool, like, especially like some of the shots in the lake and stuff at the forest and at the bungalow. So like, yes, I feel like they clearly had a sense of self-awareness about what they were going for. And to me, I agree with more Steve-O. Like, it was a bit more enjoyable probably than it was for you.
Not until they got switched directors.
No. I still feel like there were touches of it throughout. Just that they hit the gas at the last, like the latter 20% of the film for sure.
It almost felt like a early 2000s music video that's trying to be a horror film.
It was an early 2000s film, though. You know what I mean? Like, I get it, but
it just struck me too much Lifetime original movie.
Fair enough. Yeah. Like, I see it, but for me, like, I think I did enjoy the style quite a bit. I enjoyed the first 3 music interludes. Now the other ones after that were like a little like but still.
But that's what's like.
It was kind of a change up. So like, I don't know.
One of them looked like one of them actually. I can't remember which one it was. It may have been the one with. May actually been
the guitar one was outrageous.
The guitar one was amazing.
But like that's what I felt like they had their own sense of self-awareness about it, at least to me.
The one with Sanjana and the one with the woman who was having birth, both of those kind of look like musical. Both of those songs kind of look like musical travel brochures because it's just like we're here, we're in front of the falls,
the
we're
wedding
on a boat.
The wedding one was more that.
No,
to
the
me.
wedding, and this is what I was going to come down because I really enjoyed. Let's put it this way: when the style was great, I loved it, and when the style was B movie, I loved it. And when because the thing is, it really was kind of a mishmash of things. But so stylistically, I was like never bored. But I'm gonna say this, and I know I've said a lot about it reminding me of an Argento movie, and it specifically watching the trailer for it reminded me of Opera. And Opera was not what I would call a great murder mystery, but Argento but it definitely took around. It took I can't remember what opera it was, but he set this opera in World War II. And what I'm saying is, I looked at that and I'm like, Argento should really do set decking for an opera. And when this film opened up, and you had the city and it had lightning and everything, and kind of subvert you. Hold on a second. And then you had the opening number in the club, and all the dancers were kind of like in shrouds. And you're like, what is this, like a fucking cult or something? And then they started dancing, and they had the little headsets, and like, this is the city of peace or whatever. I'm like, this is an awesome way to begin this, because I'm like, I don't know where the director's going with this, but it's right, exactly. But my whole point is, it wasn't like as focused as an Argento, but there were certain things stylistically where I really knew that in certain areas, like that scene, the dance scene in the club, and then the scene at the wedding, this director definitely knew what he wanted to for those 2 scenes when it came to the dancing. I'm just going to say I really enjoyed this, and I have to give credit where it's due. And I know it was very long-winded of me to say, but it's these little things, especially revolving music and staging, that I really appreciate, even if they're not on there for all that long. It was something I very much appreciated.
I didn't appreciate them.
I know you did.
So I'm giving it a 0.
I know you didn't.
I think I did appreciate them more than I didn't, so I'll probably stick with a decent 0.
A 0?
No, I'm sorry. Decent 1. I'm sorry. My bad.
So, Ian 0, everybody else 1s, right?
Yep.
I think so, yeah.
And, okay, Ian, it is to you with recommend.
Well, this is going to be weird. Because I actually do recommend this.
I'm with you there too.
Because it's worth it to stick around for the ending. Especially if you're watching it with friends on Halloween. Like, this is something or I wish they made an episode. Like, they have the new MST3K.
They should
I
definitely
would
do
recommend
this
film for that.
I agree.
Because I think it would be so much more enjoyable, and then when you get to the ending, you can revel in its ridiculousness. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And it did. I watched the new Ash vs. the Evil Dead. This reminded me more of the old school Evil Dead films with the low budget and just going all out with it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It was worth it to wait till the end.
I'm pretty much there with you. I would say like this is like a C+ or like horror film in general, and like it was like a decent ride for the time that I was riding it. Like now I'm gonna forget about this movie in like a couple of days, but if someone brought it up to me like, hey, have you ever seen this? I'm like, yeah, actually I have. You know what? It's a pretty good time. Get some friends like you said, and probably even better. But I'll give it a 1 because I think it is worth it for one watch if you can fit it in there and enjoy yourself while it's on.
Although to be fair, I wouldn't pay for it. We got it for free on Amazon Prime. So
it is
that
free
is-
on
that is
Amazon Prime,
correct.
so check it out. But having said that, don't check it out. I don't think I don't think I can recommend this movie. You know what? There are redeeming features to it, and there are worse ways to spend an hour and a half. Unfortunately, this movie is 2.5 hours.
That's a little bit of that's true. Good point.
Which is really what got me. If it was much shorter, I would say, yeah, check it out. Like when I saw that I watched this yesterday. I was like, all right, I gotta watch this movie. I hope it's short. And I saw it. I was like 2.5 hours. Like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. So
Sorry, dude.
I started and it was like, yeah, this is fine, but it is just, it drags a lot of parts and it just doesn't hold up for the full 2.5 hours by any means.
Like I get you on that point too.
If you can like watch it, like I agree. If MST ever does it, I'm there for it. But
They'll also edit the shit out of it too.
Yeah, outside of that, like it's not really worth the 2.5 hour commitment. So I'm gonna give it a 0 on my part.
Okay, I've been giving this a lot of thought because right off the bat I was definitely going to say
shouldn't give it too much thought. Really.
no,
A lot.
I was never bored. I didn't know where the fucking film was going, but because this tonal switches were like momentary, so like you never really were in one place long enough to be bored. But I'm also going to say that I'm glad I picked this film. No, hold on a second. I'm actually being sincere about this, and you're all laughing at me.
You can still be sincere. We can still definitely laugh at you.
But
it's not mutually exclusive.
Because doing research on this film, for better or worse, rekindled the horror movie genre in India. I mean, it was dead, and this film came back.
That's fair.
Much as last year when we talked about the Universal monsters, I always said that this is significant because whatever. This actually is, if you're into horror and this is a significant film because of that. It's not, I agree with you guys. I agree with all three of you, actually. I agree with you, Steve-O. It definitely did not need to be 2.5 hours long. It definitely, I was telling Scott earlier today, it probably would have been perfect at 1 hour and 45 minutes. But I definitely think this would be something that if you wanted to get together with some friends and kind of have it on, it would be a good film to watch. But if you are interested in horror films, just as I've been saying that, like as we've been like doing short stories of science fiction and so forth, like for me to fill in these little gaps in my history, it is a significant film. So it may not be the strongest of recommendations. There might be caveats, but I would not run out tomorrow and say, you've got to see this film. And like Scott said, in probably a couple of weeks, I'll probably like, as I'm editing these things for the week of how MOTS-O-Ween, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this film. But I am going to say that I have to give it a recommendation because if I recommended Creature of the Black Lagoon for its significance, this is decidedly a better movie than that.
All right.
We'll debate that later.
That was shorter.
It's another conversation.
If Creature of the Black Lagoon had dance numbers in it, I would definitely.
It would have been decidedly better. You're right.
All right.
or an Evil Dead ending.
Yes, that's true. as well.
So yeah, it may be the strongest recommendations, but maybe it's damning with faint praise or whatever. But yeah, so okay, so that's a 3 on that. So it gives us an aggregate.
What? Oh, 3.
Yeah, on that,
Gotcha.
which gives us an aggregate score
Hold
of
on.
3.
Who's got what? Who's got what scores?
Okay. Excuse me. I'm sorry, Steve-O. Okay. Scott gave it a 5. No,
Nope.
nope. Scott gave it a 4.
Oh, wait, no.
I
You
see.
were
I'm having a
You were
hard
right
time
the first
reading
time. You were right the first time.
that.
The curse by an evil spirit that's from
No, no,
doing
no.
math
No,
right
no,
now.
no. You were right the second time. Sorry.
Yeah. No, Scott
We're
gave
going
it
to
a
cut all this out and we'll fix it in post. Except for
No,
the
we're
video.
not.
No,
Except
we're
for
We're
the video.
not. We're most certainly not. I'm editing this shit, and we're not. Okay, I just lost the page. But correct me if I'm wrong.
The spirits tore the page out of his fucking book.
I think Scott and I each gave it a 4, if not mistaken. Ian and Steve-O gave it a 3.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense because we gave zeros for different reasons.
No.
Yeah,
Correct.
You give it a 0 for recommendation. I give it a 0 for style.
style.
Yep.
And
correct.
oh wait, and
that
then
was the
Scott.
correct answer.
So it's a 3.5.
I was gonna say it's a 3. I came up with 3.75.
It hardly matters. It's
It
a
hardly-
bit of a
2 4s, 2
difference.
3s is 3.5. All right. Yeah.
Math.
Math for the win.
I must have.
We're mathing super hard over here.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's a 3.5. Because obviously we liked it stylistically. Ian didn't like it stylistically. We were all over the place with this. I think the only thing we all agreed on is supporting character. We gave 1 throughout the thing,
Yeah.
and we all gave the plots a 1,
And theme.
Yeah.
and we all gave themes a 0.
Yes. So we agreed
And-
upon it.
and-
Well, we agreed upon a lot of zeros.
We agree that this movie is worse than the Fantastic. Oh no, it's near the Fantastic Four.
No, I
Better than Fantastic Four,
This is
slightly. I
definitely
think,
better
if
movie
I
than that.
recall.
But no, the reason we
All right.
gave the reason we gave protagonist and antagonist 0s is because they lost their agency or had no agency.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So that is why we gave the scores we did. And if nobody has anything to say, I know Scott wants us to wrap up.
I'm not doing that here. If you're listening to this, I'm sitting here doing nothing. Waiting for Chris. Go on.
You're exuding wrap up.
Yes, you are. You're
Okay.
the radiating wrap up. So I've been Chris Morgan here with the radiating Scott
I'm
Thurlow,
rating wrap up.
Jonathan Ian Manzer.
Would have been improved. Speaking of the 2000s by Dollar Mendy. Tunuk. Da da da.
Nice.
and Stephen Hermosi.
And I'm going off to do an off-cast dance number. Have a good night.
See ya.
Good night.
Editing and engineering by Christopher Morgan. Music by Christopher Morgan. Check us out on YouTube and iTunes for the shows, and on Facebook and Twitter for updates.